Hello, John from Bang Olufsen in Manchester. Hopefully I'm coming through nice and clear. Welcome to the first live Q&A. I have with me a very special guest, so we'll get straight into it. But first, let's roll the intro. Hello, and here we have, this guest needs no introduction, the one and only legendary Steve from Sounds Heavenly. Hello, Steve.
Hi, John. Thanks for letting me be the first victim of your show.
Yeah, victim is right. Just on the comments, if you just confirm we're all coming through loud and clear and everything is okay, that would be good. So, Steve, anyone who's new, just briefly, what your website does, what you do, and how you help people.
Yeah, I like making things work and connect. So I end up making bits of cable and connections so that people can get the most from their Bang & Olufsen, even if sometimes the technical people at B&O say it's not possible. I see that as a challenge. So I try and find ways to let you get the best from your B&O.
So Steve can be found at soundsheavenly.com. That's where you can find all his cables and solutions, not just for Bang & Olufsen, but for what you do, Name, Meridian and Quad and all sorts.
Bridge, all sorts.
Everything. And you've got his YouTube channel. We need to get him to 2,000 subscribers. That would be nice.
Yeah. In fact, I was going to say, actually, I think I'm on about 1,800 and something, so nowhere near you, John, but there's one question I'm not going to answer tonight, but I've been asked loads. I've been asked, how do you remotely control biograms across your house? And I found a way you can do 2 of them remotely controlled at once. But I'm not going to answer that tonight. If I get to 2,000 subscribers tonight on my Sounds Heavenly channel, then I will do that video and I will do it from my bathtub to demonstrate how you can remotely control 2 different biograms that are in other rooms.
Excellent. So we've got to get Steve to 2,000 just to get that video. Come on. Right. We've got questions coming in already. Hello, everybody. Michael Fralund, hello. Relax and compose. Yeah, indeed. Wikipedia, good to see the loyal Wikipedia over. Michael, I'll just give him a quick mention, actually.
Yes,
Michael helped us a lot with OBS. He is, of course, the podcast master. He helped me a lot setting this up, so big thanks to him. Go and subscribe to Michael at Wikipedia, and he does his Bio Talk podcast every Sunday at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, 8 European. Somewhere in the afternoon in US and Canada, depending on where you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for setting this up with us.
Yeah.
First question from it. Come on, Steve, you're going to have to help me.
Well, I think we'll do these chronologically in the sort of timescales of the kit they relate to. You reckon? Is that a good start?
Yeah, okay. Well, I've got one in the comments. Saba Rosniak. I hope I said that right. I'm so sorry if I didn't. Hey, John, I'm loyal to certain brands and concerned about their survival in these times. Hoping they will get through this era. Can you tell us about what's happening at Bang & Olufsen, employees, new products? So, as you probably all know, we've got a new CEO, Christian Tier. Things have been very positive so far since he's joined. We've had regular communication from him, very clear plans on what he intends to do. Obviously, the situation at the moment has stuffed a lot of that up for everybody, but new products seem to be coming much more regularly. Everything seems to have a nice flow to it. The products that are coming have been fantastic. So personally, I'm very hopeful. I hope Christian can take us in the right direction, and I think we'll be fine. I know we'll be fine. Of course, we'll be fine. It's Bang & Olufsen. It's the world's oldest AV brand. How can it not be fine?
Yeah, and I think to add to that, from somebody who's outside the B&O ecosystem, but basically helping and working with the stores, I've been really positively enthused by how the current management team are involving people like myself, like Michael, sort of on the Beer Talk podcast, like Henrik, who does hi, John's daughter.
Yeah, sorry, Steve. I knew she'd find a way to get on. So now go on. She's watching Daddy, biggest fan.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel as though we're almost part of the team and along for the ride now. The way that the management run everything now, we get sort of told about what's happening, told about how things are going to run. We get little heads up when key products are coming out, so that we can stave off people's worries about the direction. So yeah, I feel very much as though we're being involved, being included, and it's a very positive thing now.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, maybe in a few years gone by, things were quite closed, and it was just perhaps the guys like yourself in store who got to know what was happening.
Yeah.
Now it's a bit more inclusivity.
Yeah, exactly. Another one from the comments from Max. What's your opinion on Beolab 1? I'll let you go first on that one, Steve. Interested to see what you think of Beolab 1.
I've got a love-hate relationship with them. I've never owned them, but I've had them in the house regularly, because whenever I want to get a new set of speakers, my friend's got some pink or sort of shimmery red Beolab ones, so I borrow them, put them in the lounge. My wife comes in and says, "You're not having those speakers. I don't care what you put in there, but not them." So off they go. I put in whatever I actually want to buy.
I mean, yeah, they are kind of huge. But I've never really heard them properly. I've never sat and listened to them critically. The only times I've heard them, they have been in quite big rooms, but I've got to say I was never that impressed. I didn't think the sound matched the size of them somehow.
Yeah, that's my thought. They are good, but they're not as good as they should be, especially when you put them next to a set of Pentas.
Yes, Pentas are like an audio duvet.
Yes.
They just wrap you up in that warm, analogy. They're lovely Pentas are.
Yeah, and especially when you bring them up to date with a bit of tech and put some DSP through them, then they really are good speakers. So
yes,
Beolab ones are good, and if you want that visual statement of just something that overpowers your room, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you like a warm, relaxing tone to your music, go for Pentas.
Yeah.
A little bit smaller, but yeah, nicer, richer, deeper sort of sound.
Another comment from Daryl Sean Garland. Hi, Steve. Thanks for giving my old Beolab 3500 a new lease of life. Works perfectly with my Echo input.
Brilliant.
Another happy customer.
Yeah. I've got Finn Sykes at B&O Lincoln to thank for that. I went in just on a social visit about a year ago, and he produced a Beolab 3500, almost threw it at me and said, "There you go, and don't come back until you've made it work with an iPhone."
And you did?
Yeah, we did. Took about.
You did.
Yeah, we got there.
We've got. I've just lost it. There we go. Emmanuel. Hey there from France. Bonjour, my friends. I'm looking forward to buy a stereo Beolab 17. Is it a good speaker to buy as a stereo system? Absolutely, 1,000,000%.
Really good.
Yes. Yeah. One of my favourite Bang Olufsen speakers ever made. I just think they're fabulous.
Yeah, and far bigger in sound than the size would suggest.
Double, yeah. It's how they get such a lovely deep bass extension from a 6-inch driver in that thin cabinet is just, they're amazing. Yes, Beolab 17 are fantastic, and they certainly get my seal of approval.
Yeah. When you put them against Beolab 4000s that are pretty much the same size cabinet, there's no comparison.
The sound is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. So absolutely, have a listen to them, and yeah, I think you'd be blown away with them.
In fact, what would you say, Steve, if I gave you the choice, Beolab 17 or Beolab 18?
17, definitely. I love the way the 18s look. I mean, I've got 8000s and I love them. And I made the mistake of doing a review of 18s against 8000s, and now I can't love my 8000s as much as I did. But for me, the 18s, they're just that little bit trebly, if that makes sense. They're so clear and clean with the sounds that, it's maybe it's so revealing of the detail in your music.
Yeah.
For me, I think I want something with a bit more depth, a bit of, like with the Pentas, a sort of a warmer, more solid sound. And for me, the 17s are really, really good for that.
Yeah.
but not over clinical in the sound.
Okay, another one from Nikki Ralph. Hello, Nikki. Thanks for joining us. John, I know you'll listen to a wide variety of music when you're testing your product. Do you have a go-to or favourite track? Excellent question. One of my favourites at the moment is Foo Fighters, If Ever. It's got lovely, tight, deep bass. It's not too heavy. It's everything just comes. It's beautiful track. And for testing more heavier bass stuff, I tend to use Gorillaz on Melancholy Hill, Clint Eastwood, Don Comatic is another favourite. Yeah, there's loads of stuff, but one of my favourites at the moment is If Ever by Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Steve, what about your good self?
Slightly different approach. You see, I was brought up, the soundtrack to my life is Roxette, the Swedish 80s pop band. So some of their tracks, I've been fortunate enough to get demo tapes from one of the recording engineers, so I can hear how they put the songs together and what they're like at the earliest stages. So I've got some of those tracks that I know inside out because they're like the soundtrack to my life. So I put stuff on that I've listened to every day for 20 years. Cinnamon Street and Silver Blue, two of my favourite of their tracks. And they're fairly laid back and just pared back with just vocal and a couple of instruments, but there's a depth to them. A good speaker, I just feel as if I can just sink into it. The speakers seem to disappear and I get my song that I know and love. So for me, that's the thing. I go with the stuff I've grown up with almost, where I know every note that should be there. If the cymbal doesn't come in at the right point, in the drum intro or whatever, then I know there's something missing.
Yeah, well, that's someone asked me recently, what's the best type of music to play on X speakers? Yeah. And the answer is your music. It's your music that you're familiar with, that you love. When people come into the shop, they sometimes apologize. Oh, I'm sorry, or they're a bit hesitant to play their own music. But there's no judgment, especially in my shop, that you like what you like. It doesn't matter whether it's Spice Girls or Beethoven. It doesn't matter. Whatever. I spent a good 45 minutes a few weeks ago listening to lute music on Beal of 90s. Not my cup of tea, but customer loved it.
And that's the thing. If you've got the music you know inside out and love, then you instinctively know that it doesn't have to sound right, analytically right. You just have to fall in love with that music again. And when you do that with a new speaker, that speaker's done its job. Yeah. So the thing is, it's there to connect you with that song that you know and love. So yeah, that's the way I do it. I'm not saying it's the right way, but that's my way.
Yeah, okay. We've got Michael again. Steve, as I asked when you requested comments, if money was not an issue, how would you create your dream home with B&O?
Right. I'm really fortunate, actually. I've nearly got that. Although this room is, 2.5 metres square, in here I've probably got 1,000 watts of sound, and I love it. The only thing I'll probably do is I'll change the Penta 3s that are in here for Beerlab 5s. Which will be overkill, but yeah, you can't ever complain about that. It just needs that bit more depth to the bass. And this is the room where I really enjoy the music and movies. So yeah, I think Beerlab 5s, that'd be my option. Because I'd want to properly go into the detail of the processing and get them just how I want them.
Not 50s?
No, and there's a reason. They are the best speakers I've ever heard.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, I rate the 50s above the 90s myself in an everyday room. So I'm waiting for the flames to come in on the...
Yeah, Steve, all right, forget those subscribers for Steve. That's it, take them away.
Yeah, the problem I have is, and I've complained to Jeff Martin about this, there's a little sound delay in the 50s and the 90s because of all the processing. Mm-hmm. And it just means if you pick up a guitar or an electric keyboard or whatever, any instrument, you play it into the 50s, there's a delay. And you just can't use them. You won't see behind me at the minute, but there's all manner of crazy electronic instruments come and go from this room, drum kits and synthesizers and things. And I need a music system that can do that as well as the music and the movies and so on. And yeah, for that 50s until Jeff Martin gives us a low latency option, or sorry, zero latency option on the 50s, then I can't do them here. As good as they are, yes, I may well have them in my lounge as the relaxing, sort of chill out in the evening speaker. But for in here, where the music really lives, can't do it.
Okay. Yeah, I do notice that when I play a vinyl record in the shop, there's that half-second delay from when you drop the stylus to when it actually comes on. But when music's playing, obviously, you don't notice.
No, sorry, I was going to say I had a friend who bought some BLAB 90s right on the release date. First thing he did was he dragged me over and says, right, where do I plug my mixing desk in? Where do I plug my guitar in? And you strum the guitar and then you hear the sound and you just...
can't play like that. We've got Dre in New York City. Hope everyone is well and safe. You too, my friends. All the best in New York City. Mickpedia, absolutely right. BLAB 17s are massively underrated.
Yes. Yeah. We do need to go with, I must mention as well, we've had a list of questions online from beforehand from Facebook groups and baoworld.org, which is a brilliant site for everything B&O. One of them, I think John is going to try and avoid this one, but we've got to ask it. Classic Bang Olufsen shavers, John? Are you a fan? And how, more to the point, how many likes on the video for you to do a shave on the live stream and remove your beard?
A shave?
Yeah.
Do you know how much I hate not having a beard?
Yeah.
I've had a beard, I think, since I was about 6. It's just always been there, of one shape or another, and I cannot stand being clean shaven, so that would take a lot of likes. I'll let you decide. We're on 31 at the moment.
So what do you reckon then, 50?
50 likes, and then next video, next stream, I'll be clean shaven. But surely that means you have to grow a beard.
Right. That's okay. That means you're inviting me back then, does it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, right, yeah. We'll do a swap then.
Okay, you grow a beard, I'll shave mine off, 50 likes. Deal.
Right.
The virtual handshake right there.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Murdoch Macron, good old Murdoch, young lad comes into my store. How does the BLAB Edge's active room compensation compare to the similar tech on BLAB 90? Obviously cheaper, smaller speaker. Edge.
What do you reckon on that one?
Does it mean balance?
Well, I suppose if we start with Edge, because that does have... No, that has DSP, but not room compensation.
No, it's the A9 and the balance have the room compensation. Yeah. It's obviously a much more simplified, yet quite effective version. Yeah. Whereas the BLAB 90 is mostly hardware. It's sort of cancelling its reflections with out-of-phase drivers all around the cabinet. 50s less so. It does that with the bass, but not with the high frequencies. That's dealt with the acoustic lens. But the balance and the A9 are different. They're more akin to the BLAB 5's compensation, really.
Yeah. So what they're doing really is measuring that swept tone that you hear where it goes through the setup. It scans up through the frequencies at a set rate and it measures what comes back through its microphone, and it listens if your room makes a particular pitch sound louder than it should or quieter, and then it balances that out so that it's not as exact as, say, with the Lab 90s, where you measure for a particular listening position and decide how it should sound in that particular seat, but overall across the room it tries to give you an even spread, particularly for the bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of a combination of BLAB 5 sound processing and BLAB 90 driver management. Sort of my understanding.
Yeah. That's sort of what I get from it as well. We've got relax and compose. Which speaker would you suggest to a budget uni student? Anything bigger than P2.
Yeah. Well, although A1 is actually really, really nice.
Yeah.
And two of those paired together.
Oh.
If you're in halls of residence, that's all you need.
Yes. Yeah. So an A1, if you're looking at multi-room, I have an M3 it in my bedroom at the moment. And again, M3, fantastic product to use it every day.
Yeah. And M5, again, the same, but just that bit heftier and a bit more solidity to the sound. So, I mean, yeah, and the good thing is you can have one, and if you get on with it and you just want a bit more sound, you just buy another and double up, go stereo, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never regret that choice.
Two billet 17s of stereo sound like a very good, fairly large pair of stand mount speakers.
Yeah. I mean, even a billet 12 pre-owned. Absolutely lovely. And nice and easy to take out on a nice summer's day out into the garden and just relax outdoors with.
Absolutely, yeah. My dad's got one he takes out in the garden with him. He loves it. I took home a P6 and a billet 17 because he wanted one. So this is this one. Don't know if I want to pay that much. As soon as he heard it, I knew he'd have it, and he's got it.
But that's the thing. That's the thing I love about B&O. Ever since like the 1980s, when I first got into this, there just doesn't seem to be a bad product.
No.
You know, you can any other brand, whether it's Bose, Lerva, Sony, or whatever, there'll be things you've got to listen really carefully because you don't actually know whether you're getting a duff design. But with B&O, everything you could just buy it on the looks, and it will. Yeah, you'll be blown away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Wood, are there any B&O earphones that live up to the B&O speaker quality pound for pound? Easy question.
Now, yeah.
H9s, these are H9i. H9i or H9s, I think, are both fabulous. The H4s, for the price, are phenomenal. They've got more of a sound signature akin to these things rather than the old H4s, which I found were a bit good, but they're very bass heavy, very top heavy, and there's sort of nothing in the middle. They sort of went after that teen audience, I think. But the new Generation 2 ones are great.
Yeah. Did you like the old A8s, the ones with little hooks on them? No.
I like the fit, I like the design, but I couldn't. It felt like I was putting a dinner plate in my ear somehow. It didn't ever quite fit in.
Yeah.
And I could never get any sort of bass response from them.
No bass. No. But
so I never sort of liked them.
Yeah, I think if you're doing like we're doing now, where you're having a chat. I mean, my Form 2s are broken, so I've got these horrible little plastic earphones just for tonight. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get some H4s. I think that'll be my answer.
John, do you know, will the BLab 20 be updated to a new speaker in the near future? 1, sorry, I don't know. And 2, if I did know, I can't tell you. I'll get in lots and lots of trouble and a big fine, and Ian will be in trouble, and then everybody will be miserable. So, but no, I actually, honestly don't know.
But we can't do products that aren't out, but we can do the stuff that's out. So we had a question previously about stereo pairing the balance. Now, I know you've just done a video on that, which was really... Can you do it on the non-Google Voice Assist version?
As far as I know, no. The stereo pairing is only available with any speaker with Google Assistant built in. It's got to have the voice assistant. Even the Google Home Minis will do it. But it has to have the Google Assistant built in from my experimentation anyway. I've tried to do it on Edge and things like that, but it just didn't work. The option wasn't there. So as far as I know, it has to have Google Assistant, and it can only pair to another identical speaker. So you can't do an A9 with a balance. It sounds odd anyway, but you can't do that. It just won't let you.
No. So the answer, if you've got a non-Google Voice Assist, is you do a physical wired cable to both speakers, which, yes, that's all doable.
If only we knew someone who could help us with those cables.
Ooh, yeah. But no, that's the sort of thing I enjoy doing, because obviously officially the answer is no. If you've got the non-Google speaker, then you use one on its own. Whereas I suppose I'm there as the backup to go, actually, no, if you've whatever reason you don't want a smart speaker in the house, you can still pair two of them. We'll just physically plug into them, and I'll wire the cable to do the job depending on what you want to use it with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, now we've got a good one from Michael Fryland. He's asking people in the chat, what's your earliest B&O memories? That'd be a good one for for you, John?
That's a good one. I like that question. When I used to work before Bang Olufsen, I started with Bang Olufsen about 13 years ago, and I worked for a home automation company. It's only small, and I used to fit cinema rooms and multi-room. It was all Cat set, or it was Cat 5 then, and I didn't know anything about Bang & Olufsen, and the boss at the time there used to tell me, Bang & Olufsen, it's just expensive, it's form over function, it's rubbish, it sounds bad, and it's the same sort of thing as Bose. Not any different. I was like, oh, okay, I won't bother with that then. And then Bang & Olufsen Nantwich opened, which is around the corner from my house, or was back then, and I needed a job. So I just thought, what harm can it do? I'll pop in. I gave them a CV, and it just so happened they were looking for an installer. So there we go. I got the job. My first thing I listened to properly was Beolab 3, and they'll forever have a special place in my heart. Beolab 3s. He played them. They were on a shelf with the Beosound 4. I think he played a Madonna track. And I sat there with my mouth open. I genuinely thought there was some kind of Bose style subwoofer hidden away.
Yes, I remember they used to do a demo, didn't they, with the big speakers, and they'd open them out.
Yeah, that's it. So I could see these Beolab 3s, but I'm thinking there's a sub in the wall. So what sub are you using? He says, there isn't a sub. What? And from then, I knew I was totally wrong about Bang & Olufsen. It changed everything. So Beolab 3s were my first, and then I went straight from that to Beolab 5, which blew my socks off.
Yeah.
And then I've been in love ever since.
Yeah.
But you, Steve?
Oh, I think you're a youngster on the brand. I was about 13 or 14 when one of my neighbours was throwing out this massive, great Beo Centre, old wooden trimmed thing from the 70s, and wanted me to give him a hand throwing it into his skip. So, of course, that couldn't happen. So, I got that. Didn't work. Took me 6 months to get it working. And, yeah, absolutely loved it. Beo Centre 3300 with a turntable, a radio, and, sort of beautiful thing. It was like a spaceship in aluminium and smoked plastic. And then I had to get rid of it to go to uni. But a few weeks ago, a friend of mine had been looking on my website, and he saw I put a little bit about that where my B&O love started, and he goes, "Oh, come and have a look at this I've got in my loft." He's got a Beo Centre 3300 that doesn't work, so it's in my garage right now, waiting for fixing. So yeah, full circle, and that'll be on my channel at some point soon. I'll do a little feature on it.
Fantastic.
I've got nowhere to put it, but it'll find a home somewhere here.
Nicky Ralph, lovely Nicky again. I love Beosound 1, as do I, Nicky. Although I will say I much prefer the second gen than the first gen. I think they sorted the sound processing out a little bit better. Whether the first one's been updated with software, I'm not sure. I've not had my hands on the first gen for a while. But the second gen's definitely sounded better, and it's nice with the charging dock.
Yeah. I suppose I've got to say I prefer Beosound 2 because for me as a cables person, you can plug into it. So anything can go into that, whether it's a turntable or an old cassette deck or sort of whatever, a generic TV. So Beosound 2, I like the extra presence to the sound.
Oh, the sound's way better, yeah.
But Beosound 1, obviously for the money and the size, is brilliant. But I'd almost go as far to say, I think before the Balance came out, Beosound 2, I think, was the best point source music speaker anywhere.
Yeah.
It was, for something that you just put on a table somewhere in the middle of the room and everywhere's got music. Yeah, you just cannot beat it.
I think I saw further up the comments, would you choose Beosound 2 or a Beosound Balance? And why?
Good question. The Balance blows away the 2 for the sound, I think.
Yeah.
But I still can't get used to that design. It's very subtle. I mean, you put it against Devialet's Phantom, which is just like
alien head. Yeah.
That would make a nice Star Wars droid.
Yes, it would.
And B&O has often been not as outlandish as that, but the style has been really dynamic, and you walk into the room and there's B&O thing there, and people just go, "Wow, what's that?" Whereas you could pass by the balance and not know it's there.
Yeah, I think when I first saw Balance, it was in the pictures. I couldn't quite gauge how big it was, and it did kind of look a bit weird. And Blender came to mind. I shouldn't really say that, but when I actually got it out of the box for the first time and saw it, I was really quite blown away, because you don't appreciate the sort of craftsmanship and the meticulous detail that's gone into the materials and how it looks and just how it sits there. And it's kind of chunkier than it looks on the pictures.
Yeah.
I think it's a fabulous product, but I think the BSM 2 is absolutely timeless. The way that those edges are machined and the precision, especially that new, the Anthracite
The
contrast collection.
Yes.
That crisscrossy brushing is just stunning. So I'd be hard pushed for sound, balance, aesthetics, BSM 2.
Yeah, and I think the placement is a lot of it. If it was going in an open plan kitchen diner area, the BSM 2 every time, it just the aesthetics of it just fit perfectly. But then if you've got just sort of like a snug or a sort of relaxing room that you just want a bit of light music once in a while, perhaps glass of scotch and a bit of jazz late in the evening, then the balance that's absolutely the place for it. It's got a presence to it.
Yeah.
So once you switch on the processing, it's on the sound, it's lovely. It will just make the simplest, easiest bit of light music fill the room. So yeah.
Rather worryingly, I'm afraid I'm afraid we've got to 52 likes.
Oh, you should have set a higher number.
You chose 50.
You didn't have to go with it.
Oh God! Oh, right, okay. Oh, a deal's a deal.
Yeah, have you got to find a classic B&O shaver then to do the?
I think my usual electric shaver should do the job. Oh God, I'm going to clean shit. At least I'm at home and I've not got to go anywhere, so I can just look at myself and disgust in the mirror with a baby face. My dad's in the chat. Good old Pops, John Williams. Good evening from Newcastle under Lyme. Good evening, Dad.
Hello, John's dad.
Any other interesting questions from your little collection there, please?
Let's have a look.
Anything that pops out to you?
Now, yes, the one we've got to ask I don't know why I was asked this question, but I was asked, is John always that cheery at home?
I'd like to say yes, but I know my wife's probably watching. And the little girl sat next to me, and they would probably say no. Yeah. I'm not very good at getting up in the morning. I'm not often grumpy. It takes a lot to make me angry, but I do get angry sometimes. But it takes a lot. Bossman Ian is an expert at pushing my buttons to make me angry, and he'll do it so he gets a reaction. Then he'll laugh at me because he got the reaction. So no, I'm not always. And most of the time I'm cheery. I'd like to think.
Yes. We've got all sorts of questions about B&O's decision to move from Network Link, but I think ultimately, I suppose, I almost don't want to worry about those so much, because have you got a thought on that? Does that worry you? Or
no, it doesn't worry me at all. I wasn't that bothered. I was more bothered the fact that I knew people would be bothered.
Yeah, I suppose that's my angle.
Because I found out when I went to film the Balance, put it on the app, and then couldn't play music or join it to a multi-room. I was like, is it software? Is it just early version? So I spoke to Bang Olufsen, and they said, the multi-room's gone. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's that then. So I personally at home use Chromecast. I use Chromecast groups for multi-room. I can add and take away stuff on the Google Home mini display that I use in the kitchen. I use Chromecast. In the store, I use a mixture of Chromecast and AirPlay 2. I've got to say that AirPlay 2, as much people that know me know I'm not a big Apple guy, the AirPlay 2 system is perfect. It's just as good, if not better, than the multi-room system. You click AirPlay, you tick the products you want to play, they play.
Yeah.
The end. So I don't see the big...
No.
Because I think we found that less than 10% of users that have the app use that multi-room function or use the baked-in Deezer system. They all tended to use Chromecast, AirPlay, or sometimes even Bluetooth. So why invest and keep investing in that sort of system? Nobody's using it, and there's already 2 very good systems that cater for the 2 biggest operating systems in the world already exist. I totally get it. Doesn't faze me, doesn't bother me at all. So the app has now essentially become a setup app for customizing your sound, software updates. That's it. To me, I don't mind. But I know a lot of people some people don't like change, and it's a bit weird when something changes. You've got to learn a new process or whatever. But yeah, it's so I understand the decision, and it's not bothered me. How do you feel about it?
Well, I don't mind about it, but I suppose it's for a different reason. I've been with B&O in different ways through Master Control Link to Master Link, Network Link, and now sort of through the moving on to the sort of Chromecast and AirPlay 2 options. And everything will generally work in the way that people need them to work. It sometimes just needs a different approach, a bit of thinking out of the box. And I suppose the best way to describe it is although it's nice to be able to go, in theory, I can open an app and switch on every single speaker in every room of my house if I want to for a party. In practice, not many people actually need to do that for every room. And when you wander through your house and have a think about what you tend to do, you probably find you've got some rooms like maybe a study or a bedroom where it's isolated. That what you play in that room never goes anywhere else.
No.
And some rooms where there's a group of maybe 2 or 3, like maybe your kitchen, your dining room, your lounge, that you might wander from one room to the other, share the music across, or share your TV audio across.
Yes.
And for those rooms, by all means, pick ones that are in the same ecosystem. So, maybe a Master Link group there, or all Network Link, or all on AirPlay 2. But for the other rooms, it doesn't matter. Just choose. If you've got a room that's just in its own sealed off music zone, choose anything you want there. Choose it for the sound, choose it for the style. But you almost don't need to worry anymore. In the same way as with the TVs moved from the old BeerVision 7 system of having a master TV and RF links. And
exactly.
Yeah, I get loads of questions from people who are really worried about, well, how do I change that master TV? What do I do to the rest of the house? And it's often best to just think about how you use it, whether you actually need the same content on every TV. If so, put it in locally.
Yeah, exactly.
Sky Plus or Sky Q, Netflix or whatever, direct to each TV. But if not, just put in the sources you want on each TV. And often you don't need to have them all managed in the same ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there you go. That's my opinion on it. We've got Michael H. Would you recommend wiring BLAB 3 surround speakers to an Avant 55 as opposed to using a receiver for Wiser? Would it produce better sound? Not necessarily the best sound that you notice, but it will never ever stop working. It will never drop off. Next door Sky Q wireless system will never kick you off. It will just work forever and ever on them.
Yes. And whilst there's a bit of hassle getting the wire in, it's worth doing. If you're investing in a good TV and good speakers, once that cable's there, even if you've got to pay a decorator to make things good and make it seamless through the house, it's worth the trouble. So, Wiser is a great system. It's definitely the best wireless audio system I've ever seen. But keep it as a backup where you just can't run a wire, not because you don't want to run a wire. And I'm not just saying that because I sell the wires. Chances are if you buy the TV and the speakers, you'll get them from the store. So that doesn't matter to me. But as John says, it will just work.
Yeah, I see Bossman Ian has actually piped up in the comments. He's under the name, was it Jasmine Jemima? That's his girls. His trademark line, have you sold anything?
Yeah. And I did notice someone called Rachel Williams.
Rachel, that's my sister.
Oh.
There you go, I've got loads of viewers, all my family.
Yeah. And by the way, hi Ruth, because I'm sure my eldest daughter will watch this, because she generally does.
Hello, Ruth. Max, what B&O speakers do you have, John and Steve? Well, mine won't take very long, Steve. Do you want to go first?
Right, we'll have 3,000 Penta, 6,000, 8,000 Celestials, 4,000, 3,500 and A1. I think we're there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, I've got M5, M3.
Mm-hmm.
Do these count as speakers? Probably not. H9i.
No.
I have actually got in my living room sat at the moment a BO Sound Stage, which I adore, which has just replaced a pair of BLab 6000 and the BLab 2. That's what I have so far.
Yeah. Jenny's here.
Good old Jenny.
You need to get her on the show.
Yes, well, I intend to do one. This has gone much better than I expected. So I will get one together with all the team. We'll have a whole Bang Olufsen of Manchester team. I've got an excellent question from Relax and Compose.
Oh, yeah.
If I want to drag a friend who is struggling to choose Bose and B&O.
Mm-hmm.
What can I say to make him more interested in B&O? Take him to a Bose shop and get him to listen to it. Then take him to a Bang Olufsen shop, get the experience in there and listen to it.
Yeah.
Job done.
And with his own music,
yeah.
Get him to pick a track, because quite often the guys at Bose, they know their systems very well, and they're good systems, but for a particular job.
Mm-hmm.
For action movies where some guy says, hey, I'm going to save the world, and then bang, everything explodes, and it gets the dialogue crispy and clear, and then the explosion fills the room. But anything in between doesn't really work so well. So they as with B&O, they did a lot of work on psychoacoustics, how your brain thinks things sound, but they didn't do it as, I think they did it, personally, I think they did it a bit cynically. They overemphasized the things that they think you want to be dramatic. So, yeah, put your nice, quiet, laid-back guitar, so acoustic guitar and female vocal songs over Bose, and it really sounds thin and reedy, and the lower notes on the deeper E string on the guitar suddenly start to boom because they get into that point where the subwoofer's saying it's an explosion coming now, so it ramps it up. Whereas the B&O stuff, you pick any speaker and you get that lovely open, rich sound.
They've all got that same sort of signature. You can just tell that they've had a billion hours tuning, and somebody's really taken care with how it performs. I'm not the biggest Bose fan, but I used to have to install it a long time ago, much to my dismay. Anyway, we've got a lovely question from JKB. Me and my family have thought about buying a BO Sound Stage. Is it a good solo soundbar, and can it connect to other Bang & Olufsen speakers?
Yes.
It depends what you mean by connect to other speakers. Unless Steve's come up with some magical way to do it, the BO Sound Stage is meant to be, according to Bang & Olufsen, a standalone Dolby Atmos soundbar, and also a stereo music system. And I can confirm, now I've got one sat in my living room, there will be another video about living with it, because it's changed a few things that I thought about it, to be honest. It's fabulous. It can connect via multi-room, or AirPlay, multi-room, AirPlay to a Chromecast to all the other speakers in that ecosystem. So if you mean that, then yes, it can. I don't know. I don't think you have a solution to connect to other speakers or how that would work.
It's worth saying that a lot of people look at the Stage and they say, I want it as my center channel in a surround system, and don't do it. Really don't do it. Technically, it could be possible if you've got just the right AV receiver, but it's really not a good plan. You're going against all the sound processing in the Stage, and it has an an audio delay, a latency that means it's going to lag ever so slightly behind the other speakers, which is just disconcerting. It's the equivalent of having that stage 23 meters away from you whilst the other speakers are in your room. It's that sort of time delay. On its own with a TV, it's perfect. It all cancels out. It's fine.
It's fantastic.
But don't make it part of a surround system. That's not its job. But use it by all means. I've seen it mounted vertically as a sort of point source music speaker, and it's absolutely superb for that.
Apparently, when I went to do the training for it, there was a decision made with BSN Stage where the choice was you could have it horizontally or always and be able to use the No1 to control the C9 panel, or you could have it vertical and make it a stereo system which would somehow work out its left and right, however it did it. But for some reason, I don't know if it was software or hardware reasons, they couldn't do both. But eventually they made the decision to use the No1, which I think was the right decision. But I agree, 2 of those as columns would sound amazing.
Yeah. But remember to face them inwards, because the tweeters, the little high-pitch drivers, are angled. If you imagine if the speaker's laid flat on a table, those speakers always come 45 degrees, so always aim them in. And if you're going to put one for a music speaker and have it vertically, be mindful of that the sound will come off slightly off axis. So try to design it in to be over to one side of the room, pointing inwards. And it will make a lovely speaker, both design-wise and sound-wise. And it will plug in physically to any classic B&O music system.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
On its vertical stand, with a BSound 9000 on its vertical stand, what a design statement.
Yeah.
And I've got a few customers who've done that, physically cable it through, and it's brilliant. It acts just like a classic B&O speaker, plus you can go wireless to it from your phone.
I've got an interesting comment from Tom. It's worth raising. Masterlink technology was one of the best inventions of the last century. It always worked instantly, not like my Wi-Fi at home. Now, I think a lot of people have this situation. The first point, or the first thing we look at when we come and do a survey for a multi-room system is what's your Wi-Fi like and how fast is the speed coming from your internet service provider, because those are going to make a difference. And we should be looking at that. We should be installing, there's various levels and tiers of wireless access points, network infrastructure that we can put in. Hard cabling isn't as hard as it sounds. There's always a way to do it. Your network infrastructure is the main part of the multi-room system that has to be nailed down before you start throwing speakers everywhere. Once you've got that sorted, go nuts, fill your house.
And if you can flood wire your house for Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7, then perfect. That's the way. Get your Ethernet to every room, and then all your smart devices have always got direct, uninterrupted access to your network and onto the internet. Your music will be better. Nothing will be throttled back. Everything will run as it's intended to.
Yes. Right, any last questions from the chat or last questions from your magical list there, Steve? And then we're approaching an hour, so we'll call it soon.
Right, let's see. What else have we got? What's better, BSound balance or stage? That's both similar to what we covered, isn't it, with the BSound?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're 2 different things for different jobs. For music and TV, stage every single time. For just music, perhaps, I say perhaps balance, but then you're getting an excellent stereo from stage. So you can't really lose there. If there's any TV involved, definitely stage. Otherwise, maybe balance.
But I think a lot's down to the styling. I mean, sound-wise, the balance takes up so much less real estate in the room. If you've got a small room, particularly in an old, very traditionally designed house, I mean, the balance is brilliant because it can just sit on a shelf out the way and you just don't know it's there.
Yes, it's very pretty.
And it's almost un-B&O in that respect. And you can forget it's there until you hear the sound.
Yeah.
So if you want a room that doesn't look techy, that just looks traditional with pot plants and sort of old hardback books and just sort of easygoing, mid-century, nice woods and leather and whatever, then yeah, the balance just hides away.
Absolutely. Comment from Cameron 11888. Hi guys, I have BLF 5s, but I've blown one of the speakers, and I'm wondering how long B&O will supply new parts, or whether someone will take over from them. I don't know how long they will, but I do know that they are still available because we did some recently.
Yeah, and they were commercially available drivers, I believe. I think they were scan-speakerless. So the model numbers on those drivers should be commercially available from the speaker manufacturer as well as from B&O.
Scott Everett, is it true the stage doesn't have an optical input? There is an LED light on the analog ports.
It's not currently enabled, I believe. There is a light. I know on the balance it's enabled. We ought to check that. That's a good point, because it's one of the guys in technical told me it's not working at the moment from launch on the stage. Good question. Thank you. We'll find out.
Yeah. First, sorry for my English. No, don't worry about it. It's better than Steve's English, isn't it, Steve?
Yes.
Is it better to have 4 small speakers and a subwoofer like pair of BLF 3, BLF 12, BLF 2, or is it better to buy old BLF 20?
Good question.
It is a good question. I like the integration. I like the integration of big speakers. They seamlessly blend with one another. The crossovers are done for you. There's kind of no substitute. As good as small speakers can sound, there's rarely a substitute for big speakers. So my personal preference is big speakers, no sub. But if you're stuck for space, you want something aesthetically a bit smaller, a small speaker set with a subwoofer can still sound amazing.
Yeah, I reckon there's a trade-off. There's some situations, say you've got a really small room like I've got here. If you're going stereo, then yeah, 2 big speakers, absolutely, can't lose. But if you want surround sound, if all you do is listen to action movies and you want the helicopters flying over and the explosions behind you, then yeah, go for lots of small speakers and a sub in that setup, because then you get the immersion of all the speakers around you, but without having physically a room full of big speakers. The subwoofer will give you the depth, and the little speakers will give you the accuracy of where the sound's coming from. So there's often a bit of a trade-off. But if you're saying you want the best sound, yeah, 2 big speakers for music will blow away any little sort of sub-satellite system.
Yeah, right. Last couple, I think, and then we'll start wrapping it up. Roger Dorr, John and Steve, are you planning to make these video chats a regular event? I hope so. I'm really enjoying this. God knows we all need something to look forward to and cheer us up. Thanks so much. No, thank you, Roger. No, I've actually really enjoyed this. This has been fun. So I think for the foreseeable, I might try and do one of these once a week with various different people coming to join me. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this. So thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you for joining in and with the questions. I'm really sorry we haven't been able to do all the questions.
We had loads. Yeah, I thought we'd better get loads of questions just in case nobody asks any. I'm losing my place in the chat. Michael H, not sure if you saw this question. If you stereo pair 2 balances with a wire, what wire do you use? Do you do that in the Google Home app?
Right, it's a specially wired one, because what we want to do is you wouldn't need to do anything in the Google Home app. The thing to consider is what's the source of the music. If it's, for example, a turntable or a classic B&O music system, then yeah, I'll make you a wire that will split out and send the left channel sound to one balance, right channel to the other, and you'll get traditional stereo for the music. You might find if you're doing different things with those balances, if you're playing music from Google, you might not want it stereo. You might, just want that in the background, for example, as you're doing things around the room. But if you're wanting to sit down and listen critically in stereo, that might be the time to get them physically paired. And
then you've also got to be careful of, with a wire, I suppose you're going to have 2 independent volumes on both balances.
Well, what we'd do there would be preset them in the same level and use the source. Leave them set, use the source as the volume. So say if it's a BSound 9000 feeding it, we'd use PowerLink out so that you can remote it in the old-fashioned way.
Question from Tom: what do you prefer, classic stereo setup like 6000s, for example, or a standalone speaker like a Beoplay A6? Steve?
I love stereo. Yeah, so I'm traditional, I suppose. I've been into this since the 70s, so yeah, always stereo for me. And in fact, what I've done here is actually dual stereo, so the speakers behind me exactly mirror the pentas that you can't see in front of me.
Right.
And when they're wired right and positioned right, they're almost as good as surround sound on movies, because the directors put a lot of the timings of sound just right, so that with stereo you actually hear the effects almost behind you. Psychologically, they do that somehow that messes with your head. So yeah, stereo, it does a lot more than you think.
Yes,
good.
I'd have to agree. If I'm sitting down listening stereo every time, I don't know if I could sit in front of a A6 or A9 and properly listen. So if I'm listening to Pink Floyd with a whiskey every single time stereo on the biggest speakers I could possibly get my hands on. For moving around, that's why they call them flexible living products, because most people are listening to music most of the time while they're doing something else. That's where they're part of the house. They look like part of the furniture, look like a beautiful ornament that you've got on the side. That's why they design them that way, and they're called flexible living, because often while you're listening to them, you don't want them to draw attention to themselves. You're doing something else, and you just want that room filling sort of lovely audio to accompany you. But yeah, sit down listening every time stereo.
And I reckon one thing I've got to add is, if you're going to do stereo with two speakers, do it right. It's dead easy to do. All you need, if you want to get your music transformed way better than it is now, imagine I can't do a triangle with my hands, but if you've got a triangle with all three sides the same length, one side of the triangle is the distance between the speakers, another one's left speaker to your head, the other one's right speaker to your head. That'll be left and right will be looking around the other way as you see it, but
yes.
You get what I'm coming from. If you're the same distance from each speaker as the speakers are apart, and the little treble drivers that do the high pitched tss, tss, tss of the cymbals are at the level of your head, that's how your music's meant to be heard. That's how the sound recording engineers have set that, so that everything sounds right. And if you can adjust your speakers up to the right level and get them in the right position, yeah, you'll start to hear your music the way it was meant to be. So don't go one speaker up on a bookshelf, one down on the floor, both of them off to the left-hand side of the TV or whatever. Take the time, arrange the room around them. Yeah, that's where your music's meant to be heard.
It's the same as cinema, same as stereo. The best speakers in the world will not sound very good if they're not set up right. Setup is everything. Set even a cheap set of speakers up right, and they will sound a lot better. So setup is the key. Right, I think, Steve, we're at an hour.
We are, yes.
It's been tremendous fun. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much to everybody who's joined, everybody who's left a question. Just thank you so much. It's kind of blown my mind. This has been amazing. So really, I would love to do more of these.
Yeah, and thank you very much for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. And if I do get to 2,000 subscribers tonight, then yeah, I'll do my next video from the bathtub.
Yeah. Right, so don't forget, go and follow Steve on YouTube, on his channel. Where are we? Oh, that wasn't very smooth. There we go. Soundsheavenly.com. On YouTube, he does product reviews. He does. Steve always has interesting takes. So I know you probably will see my reviews, but Steve does reviews with a bit of a twist. He always comes up with some sort of alternative angle or really interesting solutions. Recently, he had a chat with the designers of the BSound Balance, which is very interesting if you like to know what's behind the products. So go and look at Steve's channel, and you can also find him online for your cables at soundsheavenly.com. There are all sorts of solutions to connecting new and old Bang Olufsen together, or non-B&O to B&O, and anything you like, just help him, because he's a really helpful chap. Thank you to Michael, who's been in the comments moderating for me. Wikipedia, his podcast every Sunday, so go and have a look at Michael. And you've all been amazing. So I think we'll say that's it. We've been an hour. Thank you very much, Steve, for coming on.
thank you for the invitation. It's been great.
My pleasure. And you'll see us in the next video.
Brilliant.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers.